Yeah.
Okay, let's start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first webinar of the series, What We Talk About When We Talk About Photography. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available on the Photographic Gallery's YouTube channel and AUC website soon. So I'd like to ask the audience to turn off your cameras and to mute your mics until we give you the floor to ask questions. Thank you for joining us today. We're happy to kick off this monthly series of webinars, which is curated by the Photographic Gallery. We will be discussing different current issues in photography, and we will look more broadly at the contemporary visual culture with different guest speakers each session. So the Photographic Gallery, if you're not familiar with the AUC, was founded in 1991 and was formerly known as the Sony Gallery for Photography. It is now located in the new Cairo campus, and it is part of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communications of the School of GAP. Under normal circumstances, we offer a public program of exhibition, educational projects, workshops, and talks around the academic year. And we showcase photography works by young, emerging, and established local and international artists, as well as students. So we kick off this series with the topic of capturing pandemics with our guest speakers, Aladin Abdel Naby and Ahmed Hayman. I'll start introducing both speakers, then Ahmed will give a presentation of his coverage of the swine flu pandemic in Egypt in 2014. And from there, we open a discussion about today's questions, which are the risks involved in the practice of photojournalism, especially during a deadly pandemic. And we will draw the discussion towards the ethics of capturing by camera then and now. If you have any questions, please raise the hand or send them to me through the chat, and I will select some questions to ask our speakers at the end. So let me start by introducing our guests. Aladin Abdel Naby is an Egyptian professor of photojournalism and photography at the AUC and a former photojournalist at Reuters. Over the span of his 20 years with Reuters, he covered 5 wars and other significant events in the Middle East, North and Central Africa. His work has been published in international newspapers and magazines, including the cover of Newsweek. Ahmed Hayman, an Egyptian photojournalist, photographer, and also a former photojournalist for Masry Al Youm. Hayman studied visual storytelling at the Danish School of Journalism, and he is the founder of Beit El Sura school and photography school and studio, and he published his first photography book, The Dream is Still Alive, in 2018 on the dreams and hopes of the Syrian refugees. Thank you both for joining us. I just have a disclaimer before I give the floor to Ahmed. The presentation includes photos that people may find disturbing. The photos that will be shared throughout the webinar are actually very disturbing. So if you are too sensitive or you cannot see violent pictures, please skip the presentation, which will take about 10 minutes, or you can just listen to the audio without looking at the screen. So now Ahmed will start. You can share your screen and start your presentation.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction, and I'm a bit worried from the graphic disclaimer, but since you told me that we're going to talk about the swine flu, firstly I discovered it was 2009, so this is like 11 years ago. So like it's been a long time. That's one, and I returned back to the material. Like I searched all my hard drives and I found the original material, and I found some very good horrible photos. of what I photographed that day. So let me give you an introduction before I show you the pictures. So during the swine flu, no one was sure of what's happening and like where is it coming from, and it was increasing all over the world, and it was big. So everyone was wearing masks, and then the government decided suddenly that we need to get rid of the pigs at the مقطم area اللي هو الزبالين يعني المنطقة بتاعت الزبالين. So they just decided to go there. This is like their main income, and this is where like all the pigs there, they eat the garbage, so it's recycled. So they just decided to go there on the minority and just take their like source of income and just get rid of it and kill them all in few days. And it, like this is a lot of money and a lot of like not only money but ethically it was horrible because I just went there. Let me share with you. Yani, as Dina said, it might seem a bit graphic. أو مش it's a bit, not a bit. It is graphic. يعني للأسف. رجعتينا لأيام. ماشي يا دينا. لحظة واحدة. I think this. Yeah, can you see what I see? طيب, this is the first thing I saw when I arrived there. I was with a reporter called Maha Bahnasawi from Masry Al Youm. We had this assignment, total random assignment of the government is going to remove the pigs from the garbage area. طيب, تمام. We're going there, and then this is the first thing I saw. It was a huge truck and another winch. I don't know what's winch in English. As like carrying all the pigs from the farms and just throwing them over others. So like at that moment, like till now, like when I watch the photos again, I remember the sounds of the pigs just screaming and like they are killing each other already. And then people were like, this was very weird, but people were really happy that I'm taking photos. Like especially government workers, like they felt so proud that they are releasing Egypt from the terror. And yeah, I took some photos from above just to show the whole scene. You can see the photos, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes.
And then I went down to get like a closer view. Like those guys were really proud and happy that they are saving Egypt from the swine flu. So they were hitting hard the pigs. Like look at the sticks and all the metal and like ropes and pushing them and standing over them and just hitting them. That was one photo I found today. Actually, I've never seen before. Yeah, they were carrying them and throwing them. Yeah, and I learned something at in photojournalism, and Aladin يعني طبعا يعني he will confirm on this. Like you have to control your emotions and be really neutral and be really poker face while shooting, and showing that this is you have to block all your feelings. Like at least it's for me, and then go back home and you can cry, laugh, whatever you want. But during shooting it was very difficult. The smell was horrible. Like I remember the smell till now, and I remember the sounds, And then me and the reporter, we decided just to take it another step, and we asked them, where do you bury the pigs? And they were like, it's in a special place in the middle of the mines or something like this. We do mass graves. And they were proud to show us that they killed the pigs with ايه بقى اسمها ايه الجير الحي. I don't know what's جير الحي
we can skip these details.
لا بس yes, I remember burning. They were killed really horribly in front of me, and we were the only newspaper to get access to this grave place, and they were like, we're showing you إنجازات المحافظ. yeah, and this photo was published in the newspaper. I'll show you. So this is a closer look from down of how it's done. Like they throw on them the powder, and it kills them instantly, and then they just throw them like this. So yeah, this is the whole thing. Actually, I found the newspaper, like the copy of the newspaper in 2009. I want to share with you also. A moment. Sorry for the start of the day. لحظة واحدة. Okay.
I was going to ask you which photos were published in the printed newspaper.
Yeah, I'll show you. So this is the front page of the Masry Al Youm newspaper, and like
the last photo that you were showing us.
Yes, the general one somehow. Look, you can see the photo, right?
Yes, not as clear as the slide.
Yeah, I can easily share.
Have it in digital format. It will be.
Yeah, I'll do it now. One moment. So yeah, if you have any questions until I sort of scan them quickly.
Has your editor think this was too much to show the viewers? Did you have to negotiate publishing these pictures? The printed newspapers?
We negotiated a lot. Let me check the date. First of all, it was a special انفراد يعني. Yeah, we were the only newspaper entering the graveyard area, so it was big, and it was like exactly in between the swine flu pandemic. So we had a very, very special privilege يعني. We have something unique no one has.
Exclusive.
All newspapers don't have. Like even the AFP at that time, the Agence France Presse, they bought photos from me because they weren't allowed to enter. Like after the photo was published, all photographers were permitted. Not permit, like it was closed for everyone. No one was allowed to take photos in the site, and the newspaper was held in the parliament, and it was a big thing. And like what I remember was that the governor was like, he was moved from his office. Like we were that was what we were saying. We were photographing his achievements, and this is what led us in. And yeah, he went out because of us. That's like he was pushed.
He was fired.
Sorry?
He was fired.
Yes. يعني أعتقد يعني. That's what I heard at that time. Yeah.
You weren't worried about your own safety while taking these pictures. It looks very intense.
What kind of safety? Like as a swine flu thing?
Catching the disease.
I was pretty sure that it has nothing to do with the pigs. It was something political. So, and I just took the photos. I took care, and like I was wearing a mask. I was like, I didn't get too close personally, yeah. But actually, I went so close. But
Some of these are real close-ups, actually, even
yes,
like
yes.
coming this close to
Yeah, I was
outbreak.
too excited at that time, but I took care. Like when you're in the moment, you don't really think a lot. Like personally, I scan the environment first. I see exits and I see like personal safety, and then okay, I put the camera out. I feel people's energies. Like, are they welcoming? Are they not? And then people were so welcoming and so friendly and openly and proud to save Egypt from this. So everyone was very helpful, and yeah, I'm sure they regret it after. بس يعني I never do those stuff. Like, yeah, we'll talk around this later. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Ale? Did you ever have to debate publishing a photo that was showing a violent accident or dead bodies
Yes.
during?
Yes.
Can you talk about it? You said you would share pictures, so please share them if you
Yes.
can now.
Let me tell you the story first, and then I'll share the picture. And I would like to let you all know they are disturbing. However,
Okay.
from the story, Reuters published them, and they were published all over the world. Okay. It was in 2002. There was a big train fire accident in Ayaat. It's about 100 kilometers south of Cairo, and 385 people, passengers, got burnt inside 5 wagons.
Oh,
Okay, so I arrive on the scene. I arrive at daybreak, and there was security. There was a lot of people, spectators. There were officials, and they were trying to sort out what's inside the wagons. And I started taking pictures right away. Now, in accidents, there are ABCs of shooting, covering an accident. There's you shoot, like suppose if it's a bomb attack, you shoot first of all the destruction, and then security, and then injured, and then spectators, and then you start nibbling around to make better pictures. So here, let me share. The first picture I took was the train. Okay? Now, as you see, the train practically melted because apparently it caught fire, and neither the driver nor the conductor were alerted, and it stayed on fire for about 30 to 40 kilometers, and people were trapped in. Okay? Now the second picture, this coming picture is a little bit disturbing, not as disturbing as the 2 others. This picture I took of people helping the rescuers emptying the wagon trains from bodies. And as you see here, this is a totally charcoaled person. I don't know if it's a female or a male, you can't tell. Now the second picture here is the wagon, and as it shows, all the stuff you see in the back are bodies stacked on top of each other, burnt and melted. The third picture, those are the people that tried to escape from the windows, from the doors, and they couldn't make it, and they died and got burnt. Okay? Now, when I arrived on location, as I said, I shot the ABCs, which is like a bit of security, a bit of the train wreck itself. And then I decided I was going to go into one of the cars, the train cars. And I started seeing things. And I started taking pictures of bodies, of, as you see, the guy helping the rescuers carry bodies outside. And then I finished, I returned back to Cairo, and I moved about 7 pictures. The first picture was the train itself, and then I started sending the gory pictures. And I got a call back from the sub-editor, and he said, we can't use those. Do you have anything else? And I said, there is nothing else. This is a train accident where 385 people died. Now, if you don't want to show it, then you just take one picture, the train. If you want to show disaster, then that's what you have. And he said, I can't really take the responsibility. And I told him, call the editor. He's not, because it was early in the morning. I said, call the editor on the phone, tell him this and give him my explanation. And let's see what he says. At the time, the editor was an American in charge of Europe, Middle East, and Central Africa. He called him, and he called me back in 10 minutes, and he said, the editor's name was Steve. He said, Steve said use the pictures. So they were moved on the wire all over the world. And the next day, they were published almost everywhere. I do believe it is gory, okay? But that is what it is. As a photojournalist, I report what I see. And I'm not totally with all this ethics regulations, because in an accident like this, someone has to be held responsible. And for that person to be held responsible, others should see what his negligence caused. I mean, in Iraq during the war, I have pictures of body parts, a head in the street, an arm, a leg. Those I don't use because I don't really need to use those. I have a lot other pictures that I can use to cover the story. But in the train accident, you don't have a lot. It's like a security picture, the train picture, and what else? I'm not going to shoot a palm tree. I'm not going to shoot people waiting, buying sandwiches. So I'm not totally for the ethics in gore. Yes, totally gory pictures, which I have a lot of, I've never used. I always used to shoot them for my own archive, okay? But in a story like this, that's what it is. That's the story. So it has to be shown exactly as is.
Okay. Let me ask you, you said this has happened in 2002. Do you think it would be ethical to publish these photos now in 2020 in light of today's ethical standards?
I don't think so. With all the new rules, which I'm against, okay, they wouldn't get published.
Okay. Okay. You say you're against it. Do you want to elaborate on this?
Yes, because it's like reporters don't make news, they report it. So either you report it exactly honestly as it is, or don't report it at all. What do you mean by a disclaimer saying that a picture is like very graphic? So you're caring too much about the emotions of the viewer. What about the emotions of the family of the people involved in these accidents? The sons, daughters, and mothers and fathers of the people involved in those accidents.
Let me ask Ahmed. My next question is to Ahmed. Since you longer work as a photojournalist, I wanted to ask you, why did you do this career shift? And was this decision driven by the changing landscape of news reporting and photojournalism in Egypt?
Okay, so I started working in photojournalism in 2007 as a photographer in a crime newspaper. Like, this was my start. So, and Akhbar Al Youm. And then I joined Masry Al Youm for 8 years till 2015. And we did a lot of stories. Like, I learned a lot of things, but at some point I felt I'm not adding much and I'm not gaining much. Like, and there, like, I had to change. Like, and it was so also stressing to be shooting like harsh stuff, or like fighting hard to shoot something very simple. It was like, I felt like photography had, for me, I felt that it had more perspective and more bigger scale. Like, I always wanted, like, my dream, it used to be like a war photographer. I was inspired by photographers like James Nachtwey, like Salgado, like a lot of people. And at some point I felt like this is not my thing. Like, I can do it, but it leaves like a lot of scars in you that you don't forget. So I felt this is not my job. This is not what I like. I was searching. I was always like in the search mode. So I decided, no, I'm going to totally, not totally, but like I went for travel photography and more documented cultures and people, and discovering new languages, new clothes, something totally different from like hardcore news photography. And lately I also shifted more. I've been focusing on portraits and doing a lot of shoots for like celebrities and during film festivals with concepts. Like, it's not only glamorous shots, but it's more like what I learned from journalism, like a lot of emotions, but to put them with people from a different background. So yeah, I try to mix what I've learned in what I'm doing now. And I found actually the newspaper, and I remembered something. Like, once when we did the story about the swine flu, they didn't want to publish at first, and then AFP took one photo and they posted before anyone. So the newspaper was like, whoa, AFP posted, so we have to post. And they did it, like they shared it in a big way. Let me show you a moment. Okay. They posted it as a front page and one full page in the newspaper, which is like, for a newspaper, this is big. One moment, where is the share button? Okay. Can you see?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so this was the front page, and it, like posting, like having your photo on the front page this big, this was like something, yeah, at that time.
Is this the photo that AFP published also, or?
No. AFP published one of the photos here, I think so. It was a general photo. They didn't publish this. I didn't give this to anyone. This was very exclusive. When I gave them AFP like 2-3 photos from here, they were like, it was exclusive for them as well, and it was shared all over the world, and it was a big scandal. Yeah. And then we did a video also. Like, we had a small very device called Vado at that time. We didn't have mobiles that could capture very good quality. And Maha, the reporter, documented everything in video, and it was published everywhere. And yeah, it was very pressuring on the government at that time. So yeah, like I found the newspaper, so I wanted to share with you. Like yeah.
Okay. If this content, taking content like this takes a mental toll on you as a photographer, so I'll ask Aladin this. Ahmed, you've come to this conclusion after 8 years of work as a photojournalist, but Aladin did work until his retirement as a photojournalist.
And
So
he saw wars, and he witnessed a lot of stuff. I'm sure it's like 100% more than myself. Yeah. So
what do you think? Tell us, Aladin.
Okay, let me begin off by saying, as Ahmed said, it takes a toll on a person, but it's always based on the person's character.
Yes.
I remember one of my first disturbing coverages when I joined Reuters in '86 was a school bus crash that was hit by a train, and a lot of small kids were killed. And I had to cover this incident. And when I arrived on location, there weren't any bodies because they were removed, but there was lots. First of all, the bus had its ceiling torn off like a sardine can, and there was lots of destruction and blood inside. Okay. It was disturbing because at the time, it was 86 or 87, I had my daughter was 2 years old, and I related, and the kids in the accident were anywhere between 4 and 8 or 10 school kids. So it was disturbing. And I had to go afterwards to the morgue to take pictures of the bodies, covered, but in the morgue. And I moved the pictures, but then as Ahmed said, I decided that if I'm going to continue in this job, I have to totally detach myself from whatever I'm covering at the moment. And I've succeeded so well that afterwards, I never was affected by anything I saw or covered. But then when I retired, I don't have a social life. People die around me, and it's fine. I just give my condolences, but I feel nothing. Friends die, I feel nothing. Okay, so in a way, it does affect a person, not during the job, but afterwards. I'm sort of, my daughter says I'm emotionless, and in a way she is correct. I'm emotionless. But believe it or not, and answering Ahmed and the others, the best and funniest assignments I had were during war photography.
Okay.
They were fun.
Okay. Well, what do Ahmed and Aladin think of the current coverage of the coronavirus pandemic? Because it's in comparison to what the two of you have just shown us, it's just very different. We don't really see it. We don't see. We only see photos of masks and photos of isolation. So what do you think of this now?
Ahmed, can I answer first?
Taban, please.
Okay. Just as a disclaimer for myself, since I retired in 2006, I'm not involved with news anymore. I don't listen to news. I don't watch news. I'm not involved with news. So he's better, in a better place to answer this question.
Not true. Yeah, it's so relatable, and it's so weird that I'm sharing almost what you're saying, like regarding emotions. Like I don't feel anything, especially with dead bodies or someone who died. And it's I don't know what happened, but like it's something that like I put a lot of effort to feel something, and I don't want this. Like I feel that it's very embarrassing, and I feel it's something wrong. So as you said, so it was very weird to listen that someone else is sharing this also, and I believe many people. But regarding the pandemic, after 2015, I did the same as you. I stopped reading newspapers. I stopped looking at news, anything. So I decided to focus on something else. However, like I was following any, like by force, because scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, you see it in your face. So, and during the pandemic, I was so like I want to join in this historical moment, and I suddenly recalled all the moments in the newspaper and all the memories from being a photojournalist, and how angry I was, and I wanted to participate in something. And I was like, no, 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 you forgot this, and don't do it again. And then I decided to one day at the I decided to participate, but in a different way, as an historical time, yani, that we had curfews. So I went down at the curfew one day when it was closing at 7 p.m. and I photographed emptiness in the streets, in busy streets in Cairo. And yeah, I had only 4 photos, and that's it. I'm fine. I did something at the pandemic, and I also did some things like that. Our routine changed inside the home, and I've been capturing this, but I never shared it. Like it's something personal, like both in the streets and at home. But graphically or visually, I wasn't that involved, and I have to go and do this. Like I've passed this feeling. Like it got back to me, but I was like, no, 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 it's not my thing anymore, and I'm fine. So I have to do something in my own way again. I don't have to be pressured by like I have a lot of friends from photojournalists, and they are shooting, and I felt this again, the competition when you feel that photographers are doing and they are doing beautiful stuff, and I was like, I have to be part of this. But yeah, I decided I don't want to do that this way anymore.
Okay. Okay. Since some of our audience are students of photography at the journalism and mass communications school, what would your advice to them be if they wish to pursue a career in photojournalism?
تفضل علاء.
And Aladdin as well.
Okay, my advice for them is they really need to know that it's not going to be easy. And if their character and attitude would permit them to pursue that career, then they should by all means do it. But it's not a job that anyone can do. And when I say it's not a job that anyone can do, I don't mean in the experience of the photographer or the knowledge that he has. It's the character that he has. Will he accept being and seeing disturbing situations and disturbing scenes? If they're strong enough, they should try it at least. If they try it and don't like it, they don't need to continue in it.
Okay, I have another question. It's for Aladdin, since you have worked as a photojournalist for almost all your working career. So the industry of news photography has shown such harsh views on the world with the purpose of showing reality. And that's what you're arguing. But has the world ever changed or improved by seeing extreme scenes of violence or conflict?
Can you repeat the last part of the question?
Has the world ever changed or improved by seeing extreme scenes of violence or conflict?
I don't think so. And that's not attributed to journalism. That's attributed to politics and politicians. The real people that will make change in this world are the power holders, and they are the politicians. The responsibility of the media is to report and alert what is happening. What is to be done regard this is not the media. It's the politicians and the responsible people.
I'll leave, the chance for the audience to ask. I've already asked some questions that were submitted through the chat, but if you have other questions and if you wish to take the floor to ask them, please go ahead. Now's the time. So please raise your hands if you have any questions.
Everyone is waiting for this one person that will start, and then they will all start. Yalla.
Okay, I'll start.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask a very kind of simple opening kind of question. And that is, you know, would you recommend photojournalism as a career? And if you would, why?
Whoa. Will Aladin start, please? No.
Yes, I would definitely recommend it. The best years of my life were the 21 years I was in Reuters covering. It's adventurous, it's emotional, it's full of experience, and it is fun. Okay. I would recommend it, definitely. But as I said, not anyone can withstand it, and not anyone can do it and stay for a while doing it. I remained 21 years. I could have gotten longer in it, but in 2005, during my in the last war, in the Iraq war, I did 6 tours in Iraq, and each tour was a bit like anywhere between 8 and 10 weeks. And 4 of which I was based in our office in Baghdad, and 2 of which I was embedded with the US Marines and US Army, okay, for only 2 weeks. But as I said before, when I came back my last tour was August. I came back to Cairo around the 28th or 29th of August, and I had no intentions of retiring. I was looking back, or I was looking forward to rearranging my stuff to go back to Iraq. And then I got hit by blood clotting in my lungs and in my left leg. I was hospitalized, and it was serious. And apparently, from what I was told, it was because that last assignment in Iraq, I was all around the Fallujah area most of the time. And I was told, without saying who told me, but I was told that the Americans used unauthorized ordnance during the war in that area. And it could have been the cause of my medical disaster or medical mishap. It was then I was hospitalized. I was in intensive care for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks in the hospital, and then came back home for another 15 days. And all through this part of my incapacitated condition, I kept saying to myself, enough is enough. I've seen enough, and I'm grateful that I still have all my limbs, and I'm okay. I'm sick, but I'm going to get better. So enough is enough. And I alerted Reuters that I'm not going back and I'm leaving. They offered me a post as an editor that I refused, and I left. It was, I went back to the office in October 2005. And at the time, November 2005, in December, there was the African Nations Cup in Egypt, and I was going to cover it and then retire. And during the African Nations Cup, there was this disaster, the ferry disaster of the Salem in Safaga in the Red Sea in Saudi Arabia, that I covered. And then I came back to Cairo. I was going to retire by the end of January. And then I was asked by Reuters if I can stay till the end of March, because Prince Charles and Camilla were coming to Egypt and they had no one to accompany them. So if I could just cover their visit to Egypt and then retire, so I accepted. That made me retire at the end of March 2006.
Aladin, bless you. Okay, we have a question from Hazim. So please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, of course, the pandemic affected photography industry in general. And like there's a lot of events and exhibitions like cancel and so on. But I personally believe that the more we limit, the more creative we became. Is that an advantage for photographers in their work, or even the laws of ethics or something? So is it an advantage or?
It depends on how personally you see it. Like as Ala said, it depends on the character. Like if you're a character that is inspired by being stuck in a house and thinking differently, you will be inspired, of course, but other people will be totally stressed out and they love going out and they love exploring, so they will miss this feeling. So it depends on each person. That's what I believe in. But it gave me time to rethink of everything. Like I had time to evaluate everything I'm doing. I had time to go back in my archives and prepare them, back up my stuff. Like I didn't have time to do this, to update my website, to organize my material, reading more, checking more photos. Like I didn't have the time. I was always on the cycle and always I go sleep, wake up, take photos, and then put on folders, hard disks, backup. I didn't have I discovered a lot of photos that I don't remember shooting even. So I had a lot of time doing this personally. So it depends on the photographer, Hazem, and it depends on what's next. What do you want to do? Because if you're a photographer and you want to do something like either by photojournalism or food photography or anything, it depends on going out, on meeting clients, on discovering and working with teamworks. It's not only you. So yeah, it's a good pause to think well and arrange your schedule in order to move forward. That's from my point of view.
Okay, we have another.
Sorry, you were going to say something.
Okay, no, if you.
Yes, I wanted to ask Hazem again. What was the question exactly?
Okay.
The more we limit, I personally believe the more we limit, the more creative we become.
I don't necessarily agree with this, because creativity doesn't come from limiting and stuff, But I think what really happened here in regard to photography and the pandemic is people have become more paranoid. Like in the past, when I had a camera in the street, I was hassled. Not very much though, but I was hassled. But now with the pandemic and everything that the government says and everything that the government does, anyone in the street with a camera is totally hassled by not only security, but by the population themselves.
Yeah.
They've become so scared even of photographers. Like, I don't want to even get in contact with people, but still they're hassled. What are you taking pictures for? Why? And who's going to use them? And stuff. I have problems in my field trips with students in university. And Ronnie, I don't know if you go out in field trips as well, but if I don't go to a place where the people in charge know me, okay, like Ibn Tulun, El Mu'izz, and the Citadel, the people there know me, so it's fine. If I take people, I give private tutoring as well, street photography. If I take street photography and go anywhere in the street, we are hassled all the time. All the time. And this is not, this is something new, and it was mainly caused by the paranoia that is going around because of the pandemic.
We have one last question from Doha. Doha, please ask your question.
I think my question goes to both our guest speakers. I was curious because you both mentioned that sometimes your editors don't allow you to publish certain photographs, but I was curious if you've ever published a photograph and you've got backlash from your audience or from readers regarding the ethicality of it or something, or how disturbing it is.
You mean on social media? يعني
لا, on like newspapers. Any pictures that you've ever published and you got backlash for it, for like publishing it in the first place.
First, اتفضل.
Okay, let me tell you this. The way Reuters works is I have pictures here in Cairo. I send them to the editing office, which in the morning is London, and in the evening it's Hong Kong. And London decides what to use, and most of the time everything I send is used, but London decides what to use and it sends it all over the world. Now we have clients in every country in the world, like in Egypt, Al Ahram, Al Akhbar, all the newspapers and magazines are clients of Reuters. If a picture lands in their terminal and they use it, that's their responsibility. It's not mine. It's not Reuters. Reuters gives it to the world. Whoever uses it bears the responsibility of publishing it. So I never got a call back of pictures that I used. People really in the streets in Egypt don't know me. Even if my picture made the front page in Al Ahram, people don't know me. They don't know that I was the one that took the picture.
Okay.
Ahmed.
Yeah, it's the same for me as well. Like if I'm shooting for Masry Al Youm, if Masry Al Youm is publishing it, it's their responsibility. It's not mine anymore. But if I posted it on my social media platform, this is my responsibility. And like I somehow, like during those days, I used to post photos, but social media wasn't that active. Like now, like everything is on social media. Everything depends. Like news is coming from the social media platforms, so it's totally different. So I haven't been like sharing something like this. Maybe Fadda Rab'a's clearance, and it was very debatable. And this was the last violent thing I photographed, and I decided to stop photojournalism. Yeah, it was debatable on the Facebook. Many people were like, how? And many people were like, thank you for sharing this. So I just leave people comment and like sometimes I enter into debates, but I prefer not.
Makes sense. Okay, we need to wrap this up because we're running out of time. So I'd like to thank you both, Aladin and Ahmed, for your time and for the fruitful discussion. Thanks to all who have joined. And this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel and AUC website soon. I'd like also to announce the next webinar, which will be on Monday, December 7th at 11 a.m. By Dr. Nicholas Hamlin, who will discuss the cultural appropriation of the Black Lives Matter movement by brands. So please join us if you can. And thank you all. Thank you all for your time and for being with us.
Dina, can I add one more thing quick? I've been a big fan of Aladdin for many years, and it's such a pleasure to be sharing like a webinar with him, like we're doing it together. Like you've been a great inspiration for all photojournalists and personally myself. And yeah, your work is like it's very difficult to remember work, but if it's that good and it hits you emotionally, you never forget it. So yeah, I just wanted to say this because I'm very happy that we're doing this together. Thank you, Dina.
Ahmed, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And believe me, I'm very much pleasured and honored that I'm sharing this webinar with you.
Thank you.
And can I say something before I go, or before we go? Dina, thank you very much. Thank you very much for creating this webinar, and keep it up. It was brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you,
very
Alex.
much.
Okay, so this is the end. Thank you all, and I hope to see you next Monday with Dr. Nicholas Hamlin.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.